I still got lost. So don't feel bad. I was like, wait, where's it at? Because I don't have classes on this side. So
Mhm.
I was like,
Yeah, I kind of parked, and then I'm like, oh my god, where do I go?
mm-hmm.
And then when I came in, I was like,
actions, striving to address the challenges vulnerable populations face and assist in building stronger communities able to meet the needs of its members. So we would like to welcome our three panelists here today. I'll give you a little bit of introduction to each of them, and then they're going to spend some time talking to you about how they have impacted their local communities and some of the work that they do. So our first panelist is Miss Allison Sheeran. She is currently an NCC student studying nursing. She will graduate this May, so congratulations. And she signed an agreement with UNC Nash Hospital in Rocky Mount and is currently interviewing for some positions right now. Allison's going to share a little bit about her story, but did share with us that she was homeless at a time, and being homeless with 3 children really opened her eyes to how many families right here in the community are homeless. It's impacted her in a positive way and gave her the drive, ambition, and eagerness to continue on her journey to becoming a registered nurse. Our second panelist today is, if I can get my paper right, Mr. Ron Green, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the Boys and Girls Club here in Rocky Mount. He was raised in Mississippi. He started a 20-year career with the Boys and Girls Club as a volunteer. It started as a volunteer in northern Mississippi, correct? Okay. He serves on several local, regional, and national boards. Locally, he is the past president of the Rotary Club of Rocky Mount and a Paul Harris Fellow. Nationally, he serves as the Dean of the Society of African American Professionals. He also serves as the president of the Boys and Girls Clubs of America's National Advisory Council. He attended Samford University in Birmingham, where he played baseball and football and served in the school senate. After college, he started a 5-year professional baseball career with the Chicago Cubs, interesting fact, and graduated from Bethel University in Tennessee. So he currently lives in Rocky Mount with his wife and 2 children, and again, he's going to share a little bit today about his work. Our last panelist is Dr. Landis Falcon, and she is the Director of Community and Business Development for the City of Rocky Mount. She has more than 25 years of leadership experience in local government. Her areas of expertise include economic and community development, leadership and governance, strategic planning, and civic engagement. She's worked with diverse communities in Georgia, Maryland, and North Carolina. She's collaborated with appointed and elected officials from all levels of government, neighborhood organizations, businesses, and residents on a variety of quality of life issues. She's led multi-million-dollar initiatives to revitalize distressed urban communities, strengthen business and workforce development opportunities, improving housing options, and leverage public and private resources. She was born in Roanoke Rapids and grew up in Virginia Beach. She's a graduate of Howard University in Washington, D.C., and received her graduate degrees from ODU in Norfolk, Virginia. We want to thank each of you for being here with us today, and we will start off this afternoon with you, Allison.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Hello, everyone. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me. I want to let you first know that I have accepted a position with Coastal Plain Hospital here at Rocky Mount. The reason why I accepted this position is because growing up in a impoverished area, being homeless, as she stated, with 3 children, I've been exposed to the psychological disorders that affect our community, the drug addiction that affects our community, prostitution. It's a lot of things that I have seen, and unfortunately my children had to bear witness to as well in our community. And I really want to be that person that can help them. I know that I can't save everyone, but if I can save one person, that's one life saved instead of it being lost. Being homeless was not a choice. You know, it was a struggle with 3 children, but I refused to give up. I wanted my children to know that no matter what circumstances you face in life, you can continue going forward, and I refused to give up. I refused to let life beat me down. We were homeless for about 2.5, maybe 3 months. We didn't live in our car. We did live in a hotel, so the situation wasn't completely terrible. It could have been a lot worse, but we lived in a hotel, and I worked, went to school, did clinicals. There was a lot of weekends I went with a lot of or the lack of sleep, so to speak. We finally got us a place to stay, but when we first got our place to stay, we didn't have anything. Like, we literally had to leave everything we had behind because I didn't even have the money to put it in storage. So when we got our place, we had air mattresses we slept on. We had to eat on the floor. You know, it was a struggle, but eventually, you know, we've started to put the pieces of our life back together. And they didn't give up on me, and I didn't give up on them. And the nursing department didn't give up on me either. They didn't let me feel sorry for myself. They, you know, they pushed me and they kept me going forward with life and with my program of study so that I can be successful, and that so that I can not only be a good nurse, but I can be a great nurse. And that is my ultimate goal. So come May 10th, I will graduate. To God be the glory. Then I'll take my boards and become an RN. And if there's anything I can tell anybody out here today, or anybody that's listening, never allow life to be the reason why you're not successful. Reach out to your community. I was ashamed. I felt less than a mom. I felt less than a person because I put my children in this terrible situation that they had never had to succumb to. But I reached out to so many resources for help. And inevitably, Nash Community College was the resource that gave me the information I needed to get a place for me and my children. So I'm forever grateful for that as well. Thank you. And that's it. Does anybody have any questions? Okay.
Well, first of all, just like to say it's an honor to be up here with an awesome story. You know, you think about when you're up here to share, and you think about the others who are with you, you never know their stories until they actually tell them. And everybody has a story, and nobody can tell your story as well as you can. And I would have never expected a story like that, just speaking with you. But, and like I said, it's an honor to be here. I thank you for having me. And just like my bio said, I did grow up in North Mississippi by way of Chicago. So I was born in Chicago, and moved. My parents moved us south, like a lot of other parents did when they grew up. I mean, you're born in Chicago, or you lived in Chicago, New York, or even in Baltimore. You move down south because you feel like it's a little safer. And so we moved out of Chicago and moved to Mississippi. And my brothers, I have two brothers and a sister. And we lived in some conditions that when I look back over it now, when I was living there, I thought it was how everyone lived. I grew up in the housing projects in Mississippi, and I thought that was, everyone that I knew basically that was close to me lived in the housing project, so it was like normal until I started visiting some of my friends' homes, and I realized that we didn't have it so well. But and in my household, it was kind of like a on again and off again kind of relationship with my mom and dad. So the majority of the time we lived, it was a single parent home. But kind of like your story in a sense is, you see a lot of the negative things or things that make you want to just say, give up or not. This is, I can't be successful coming from this type of background. But, I also always tell young people, don't let your surroundings dictate your outcome. And, I look at my life, and I could have, there's a lot of things that I could have become. And there was a lot of things that I was refusing to become. And I know we'll get into that a little bit more when we talk about some comparisons or talk about the book and some other things. But, I just look at my life and where I am today, and I feel like I had a lot of opportunities. The dreams I had for myself, I guess they were dreams that I had for myself, but not what my purpose was on earth. I think the dreams I had was that I was going to grow up to play a professional sport, take care of my family, and move everybody out of the hood. That's not how it happened. But I did get an opportunity to play a professional sport for 5 years, and came to realize that I wasn't born to, even though I was good enough to play, that was not what I was born to do. And during the time when I was volunteering, and during the time when I was playing baseball, I was volunteering at the local Boys and Girls Club in my community. And I went in. I originally started just trying to get young people to play baseball again from my community, and they just weren't playing baseball. And now you see programs like RBI, Reviving Baseball in the inner city, and some other things, trying to get young people, especially African American males and even African American females, to play baseball and softball again, because just seeing the numbers just dwindling away. So I wanted to give back. So I went to the club and I started volunteering and helping, doing baseball camps and free camps for them, and bringing other professional baseball players in, and we were doing camps and getting them involved with baseball again. And the kids started inviting me. He said, "Man, Mr. Ron, can you come tomorrow?" And I would show up and hang out with them, play table tennis with them, and sit around and talk with them. And I had my friends; they would come by, and next thing I know, I was coming every day. And as the guy who hired me with Boys and Girls Club would say, I just showed up and it was time for payday. I had my hand out for a check as well. But I came to a crossroads where I decided I had to make a decision. I said, what makes me happier? Playing baseball, which was, playing a professional sport was my dream. I didn't care if it was going to be football or baseball. I played both in college, so I didn't care which one it was. First one that offered me a contract, I was going to take it. And it just happened to be baseball in the Chicago Cubs organization. And, I thought that was what I wanted to do. I was happy while I was playing, but I found more joy when I was working with young people in the community in which I grew up. So I gave up playing baseball, hung the spikes up, and started working at Boys and Girls Club. And the kids thought I was crazy. They said, "I can't believe you working here at the club. Why are you not playing?" And I was like, "Man, you don't think this is an honorable job? I love working with y'all." They said, "You crazy." I said, "If I ever get that chance, I'm not coming back to work here, And so I continued to work at the club. I just fell in love with giving back to young people who I felt like needed us the most. And as I started working, I started progressing in the Boys and Girls Club movement. And before I knew it, I started off as a volunteer. I became an education director. The next thing I knew, I was running the club. The next thing I knew, I was operations director. And before long, I had my first job as the CEO of an organization. And in that 20-year span, I probably touched the lives of probably over 10,000 young people. And it's just been a blessing. It's been a blessing to be able to share, to help young people just see that, that life has so many things to offer them. And my goal is to just allow them, help them to grow into what they can and should become. I don't know what it's going to be, what they're going to be, what they're planning for their life, but I can, give them the necessary tools in order to help reach those goals, or help put them on a path that could help them become successful in whatever that area may be. Our mission at Boys and Girls Club is to inspire and enable all young people, especially those who need us the most, to reach their full potential as productive, responsible, and caring citizens. And, just to sum that up, I just want them to grow into what they can and should become. That's it. And there are so many obstacles that they're going to face, but getting them to understand that they do have the strength to overcome those obstacles, kind of like what you were saying, that despite their surroundings or what the curveballs that life, give them, I always say, they say if you want to learn how to hit a curveball, the thing is you got to wait back on it. Well, in life, when they throw you curveballs, sometimes you just got to take a little time and look at the situation and realize that you can handle it. And and that's what I've done in my life. And I've gotten to the point where 6 years ago, when I took the opportunity to come to the Nash and Edgecombe County, I didn't know how long I was going to be here. I just knew that I feel like I can help the community. And I took the opportunity, and I think it was one of the best opportunities I ever, had, and then the best decisions I made, and outside of marrying my wife and starting a family. Just in case she's listening, I need to say that. But you know, it's just been an awesome opportunity for me to seeing so many young people have an opportunity to better their lives, to get some, you know, to experience some things that they probably wouldn't have experienced. But at the end of the day, you know, I just want to make sure that when my day is done, when I get through with the service work that I'm doing for not only this community, for this world, I want to be able to say that it was a job well done. And then I can, you know, if I didn't have to pay a mortgage and some other things, well, I don't have to pay a mortgage anymore. But if I didn't have to pay, you know, if I didn't have, as we say, expenses that you have to have in order to live and those type of things, you know, I got a son in college and a daughter that's a senior in high school right now. You know, I would do the job for free, just because that's how much I love it. You know, I love, you know, doing what I do. I love the opportunity that I have to make our communities a better place for young people to grow. And, you know, and it's just amazing the opportunities that people have in this area that a lot of times, you know, get overlooked because you are in Rocky Mount or you're in Nashville and the surrounding areas. But there's so many opportunities here, and sometimes it takes somebody from the outside to let you know that you have a lot more opportunities than you think you do. And we're just proud to be here. And I think my family has taken advantage of a lot of the opportunities that are here as well. So I'm just, you know, I'm here. I'm looking forward to some of the questions and some of the discussion.
Hey, hello everyone. I am Landis Falcon, and I am new to Rocky Mount, but in a sense I'm not new to Rocky Mount. I was born in Roanoke Rapids. Most of my family is in Halifax County. I grew up in Virginia Beach, but I've been here all my life because my family is in the area. Throughout my career, I have worked in diverse communities helping people. That's something that's always been very important to me and my family. Here in Rocky Mount, I've been hired to help with housing and neighborhood services, going out in communities to help people have good places to live, safe, clean, healthy places to live. We also work to start small businesses and to recruit businesses to the area. We're also working to make sure that when those companies come to Nash, Edgecombe County, Rocky Mount, that we are creating a pipeline to help people from school to work. Or for those that are underemployed or seeking better opportunities, that's what the work of the Department of Community and Business Development is all about. I can't say enough about reaching out to people in your communities, in your churches, in your schools, because you never know someone's story. They may not know our stories. And so as we meet new people, we have to be mindful of, we don't always know what they've been through, but we can always be a resource to one another. And that's part of the work that I'm responsible for doing with this new department that's been created by the city of Rocky Mount. It's how do we improve the quality of life for everyone who's here? How do we make our resources available to people who are here, to folks who wouldn't ordinarily come to City Hall? We've got to be out in the community, getting to know people, understanding community needs, understanding community benefits, and making sure that as we plan for great things downtown and throughout the city of Rocky Mount, that everyone has an opportunity to be a part of that. So I'm excited to be on the panel this afternoon because we need you all. We're always looking for bright stars, people to help us get our work done in the communities. So I look forward to any questions that you all might have for us.
All right, at this time we're going to open the floor for questions for our panelists. So if you have a question, if you can raise your hand, I will bring you the mic. Start off with that. All right.
You're all wonderful. I keep thinking this is going to bellow out throughout the world, and it doesn't. Allison, it's sort of a question geared towards you, but it could be for the whole team. But you mentioned reaching out to resources, and that Nash was part of that, or maybe connected you. But I was just curious what some of those other resources were, or how you eventually found the home that you're living in, or were there any connections with the Boys and Girls Club or any of those types of things? What were some of those other community sources that played a role?
Thank you for that question. I reached out to the Department of Social Services with Edgecombe County. Unfortunately, I was basically stopped at the door, and they advised me that I should have came in prior to getting notice of eviction for my home for help, and that there was nothing that they could do for me. I went also to the project housing in Rocky Mount for assistance. I was basically told, here, this is how you apply, but we're only applying during this time frame at the beginning of each month. You've got to get your application in by a certain time if we have apartments available, which inevitably was going to be a whole nother 3 weeks to put an application in, and then it was going to be a waiting list. I also went to Rolling Meadows Housing in Rocky Mount, put an application in. I was denied because I had been evicted from my home. I was honest. I didn't want to lie, so I was honest, and I told them I had been evicted, and of course, I was denied from my application. I wasn't put on a waiting list. I had went to Need Incorporated in Rocky Mount as well. Excuse me, and they told me that they couldn't help me with housing. They didn't have emergency housing available, that I could do an application for Section 8 when and if that time, opened up, or housing vouchers opportunity opened up. And I inevitably went to a couple of other resources. I looked things up online. There's a affordable housing in Tarboro. The lady, I don't know the name of it right off the top of my head, but the lady was very, 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 very passionate to try to help me get housing, but it was a waiting list as well. But she took my information down and told me that she would call me as soon as she knew something or had something available for me. Inevitably, I came to school and I talked to one of my instructors, and she passed it on to the director of nursing of the program, who then passed it on to Blue Love here at Nash Community College. And they gave me resources of other housing opportunities in the community. And I knew that Beale Street Square Apartments was available. However, I also knew it was only 2 bedrooms. I have 3 children. So I wasn't sure if they were going to allow me to rent from there, but who was going to stop me from trying? So I did, and it took about a month with all the paperwork and everything after I initially put in the application to get the money together and to be able to pay the deposit and lights and everything to move in. And right after I did that, the lady from Tarboro called me and said she had an apartment available as well. But I told her, I was like, I have something, but thank you. So inevitably, Nash Community gave me the resources I needed to be able to find housing for me and my children.
If I can, and that's one of the problems that I see in our area, is that we don't communicate enough on opportunities that we have to be able to help each other. And just like this situation here, when she's looking for housing, I'm sure her kids are they school age? Mm-hmm. And they were school age. Where were they going after school? So that's when someone, needs to be calling Boys and Girls Club and say, hey, we got this situation. And one of the reasons why I got a couple buffers between me and our organization, because somebody called me and said they need some help like that. I was like, all right, we got you, But that's why I have some buffers in between to be like, well, let's make sure first and this and that, because I operate with a heart, and that gets me in trouble a lot with my board of directors, because I'm always like, nah, we'll scholarship them, get them in, because I understand that sometimes people go through things, and there are people that sometimes take advantage of the system. We know that. But there are some people just like you who are true, and they're trying to do more for their family. They're trying to do more for themselves, and sometimes they just need a hand up, not a hand out. And that's I think that's one of the reasons why I love the nonprofit world, is because of the opportunity to give that hand up and to help out some, especially young people. If she's out there, if she's going to school every day and she's trying to work and all that, what are her kids doing? You know, do you want them to be at home by themselves, or do you want them to be out? No, you want them to be in a structured environment where they're learning to be positive and productive, to learning or helping with their homework, you know, giving them character building skills, you know, those type of things. But if we don't communicate with each other, as far as agencies go, we won't know that. And we try to do that sometimes with some of the agencies that, you know, we meet a lot when we're in different committees together. And if they say, hey, you know, I get calls all the time from whether it's the school system, whether it's the city, whether it's sometimes DHS and now these Partnership for Children, they're calling and say, hey, Ron, I got a family that really needs some help. You know, they're living in a hotel, they got this many kids, whatever, or they're homeless, you know, and so can you help them? You know, and 9 out of 10 times we're going to say yes. Well, 9.5 out of 10 times we're going to say yes. You know, just in case some of my board members are watching, I was saying, you know, but we're going to help them. Because, I mean, everyone needs an opportunity, you know. I'm like I said, I ain't always wore a suit. You know, I've always been in a position where, you know, I can go in the refrigerator and find something to eat, or in the cabinets. My kids can go, and if they're hungry, they're sitting there and they say, I'm hungry. I say, well, there's plenty of food here. No, I want to go to McDonald's. You know, can't get a couple dollars. It ain't always been like that, you know. And so I understand that what some people go through, a lot of people go through in our area, but sometimes they just need that hand up, you know, not just that handout. You know, that handout may help them today, but that hand up may help them today, tomorrow, and the next day. And we just got to build stronger partnerships with each other when you're in these when you can help. You know, instead of saying, no, I can't help you right now, but this person over here can. Mm-hmm. You know, because people are already hurting. When they come to you in that situation, they're already hurting. Don't hurt them anymore, you know, by just turning them off. Because now, that, you know, when people get into those type of situations, you know, and especially when they're taking care of their kids, it ain't, you know, ain't a lot they probably wouldn't do to make sure their kids are taken care of. You know, you think about people when they're saying, hey, you know, you hear about the stories all the time. Well, somebody robbed this person, robbed that person, and said, well, my kids had to eat. Or they're selling drugs and they're doing this. Hey, my kids got to eat. Or my kids needed a place to stay. But and you look back at it, sometimes those are the same people that reached out and tried to get some help, and they weren't given the help. You know, so we got to be more friendly. We got to be more helpful. Even if you can't help, suggest somebody else that can help. You know.
All right, I think we have a question from one of our online viewers.
First was a personal question for me. This one's for Ron. First off, fantastic suit, shirt, and everything. I love that. You got a great sense of style, my friend. I just leaned in and I'm like, it's good. And second off, your story is absolutely incredible. Yeah, the fact you got to play for the Chicago Cubs, and just everything you've done throughout your career for the boys and for Boy and Girls Club. My question is, what drew you to Rocky Mount? You've been all over the world playing baseball, doing all these great things. What exactly drove you to this place?
Yeah, that's a great question. Because I often ask myself that, or I remind myself of why I chose to come here. So I was, you know, it's kind of like sports. I was getting recruited by different organizations and saying they had an opportunity to come lead the Boys and Girls Club organization. And I was young, younger than I am now, but, you know, I guess they still call me young sometimes. But I was really looking. And I had basically narrowed down to a couple of areas that we wanted to live. My family, I wanted to raise my family. And a friend of mine who, well, he was a mentor of mine, he called me. He said, I want you to, there's an opening in Rocky Mount, North Carolina. He said, have you ever been? I said, I've been once. I came up to help train the staff up here one time, and he was like, well, they have an opening, and I want you to consider the opportunity. I was like, nah, I don't want to go to North Carolina. You know, I'm looking right now, I'm going back to Birmingham, and there's an opportunity there, and he's like, you at least owe me the opportunity to go up, owe me the opportunity to you to go visit. So at least go visit. And I told him, I said, well, yeah, I'll go and visit. And I set it up, and my wife came with me. and I came to visit. And several of the board members were there, and they met me, and they talked to me. And the next day, I had one of my fraternity brothers. I connected with some of my fraternity brothers here. I said, hey, look, they've taken me around to see all the nice places and all that. I need you to take me to the area that really need help. And one of them picked me up the next morning and drove me around Rocky Mount and the surrounding areas. And he took me I said, I want to go to the hood. You know, don't take me downtown. Don't take me over to where the mall is and all that. Take me to where people think it's the worst areas in Rocky Mount and the surrounding areas. And he did. He took me around, spent about 2 hours with me. And I went back to the hotel, and I looked at my wife. I said, they can really use our help here. And she's like, you feeling it? I said, I'm feeling it. And from that point on, I just cut everyone else off, and we started talking about, you know, what it would take to get me here. And I chose to come to Rocky Mountain. And we were just talking the other day. It doesn't even seem, we've been here 6 years. It doesn't even seem like 6 years. And I think we've really made an impact. And I say we because I couldn't do what I do without her, you know, supporting me and allowing me to spend those long hours and all that, and you know, and do all I do. And I just look back from when we started, you know, when I came here in 2012 to now. I think it's been a lot of lives that have been transformed, and we've done a lot as an organization to try to not only better the young people but better our community, because we're really a community organization. And all our partnerships, whether it's partnering with the city of Rocky Mount, whether it's partnering with the college, or whether it's partnering with you know, some of our other agencies around, we're just trying to pull together our resources so that we can make a greater impact. We know at Boys and Girls Club we're going to serve X number of kids, but there are X number of kids out there that still need help. We know we're going to serve X number of families, but there are X number of families out there that still need help. But if we pool our resources together, instead of having a impact in maybe 1 or 2 or 3 areas, we can impact the whole Tar River region. And that's what we've been doing, and people around can tell you, and Amy can tell you, we just want to lend our services whatever way we can help. If it's some knowledge about how to deal with young people from some disadvantaged circumstances, to providing scholarships for kids to come to the club, or you know, just partnering and helping any way we can. And that's what we do, and that's what makes me proud to say that, you know, when people ask me, say, where you from, I say Rocky Mount, you know. And they say, I thought you was from Mississippi somewhere. Well, that may have been where I was raised, but I'm from Rocky Mount because that's where I've been living. My kids, my daughter, she's been here, she's been going to school here since 5th grade. My son graduated from Rocky Mount High School. My daughter's going to graduate from Rocky Mount High School. When they come back to their class reunions, they're coming back to Rocky Mount. They're not going to Tennessee, where we were before here, or going back to Mississippi, or even going to Chicago. They're going to Rocky Mount. You know, so this is our home, and that's, you know, when I'm out, I say that's where I'm from. So if that's where I'm from and this is my home, why not try to make it the best place that we can possibly make it, you know, be? And whatever resources I have, whatever begging I got to do to folks to, you know, to step it up a little bit or whatever, we're going to do what we have to do.
That's awesome, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We don't have so much of a question, but a comment from one of our Facebook viewers. And this is directed towards Allison, from Candace Gregory. She says, Allison, your story truly touched me. You are so inspirational. You never gave up no matter the situation you were in, and that is truly amazing. I wish you the absolute best, and I know you will be a great nurse. I also work at Coastal Plains, and I hope to see you around. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you, Candace. I appreciate it.
You're going to be a celebrity when you go in.
Okay.
Awesome.
Another question over here.
Well, Ron, I want you to share your Wes Moores story, because I know that you have one, because you told me.
Yeah.
But also tell us, what, and to any of you who have that experience, in terms of dealing with youth. It's in the book, both Wes Moores had some basic early crime, some petty crime. It might be vandalism. drifted into drugs and so forth. What do you see as the best way we keep youth, we steer youth away from that lifestyle? Because I know Ron and I sit on a community board together, so I know that you all work with youth who've been through the criminal justice system. So tell us what you find is the most successful.
I think the best two things you can say is hope and opportunity. If you give them some hope and opportunity, a lot of times they will avoid some of those pitfalls that are out there. You know, I think about when I think about the other Wes Moores or the two Wes Moores, I also think about myself and some of my first cousins. You know, that we actually lived in the same house, you know, a lot of the times, and I think about their paths, how they were in and out of the juvenile justice system, then the adult correctional facilities, and you know, now they all, anytime I talk to them, they're like, man, I sure wish I had did right, man. And I'm so proud of you, man, and what you did, man, and all this and all that. I'm thinking, but you had the same opportunities I had. But then I have to think back and say, okay, what was the difference? I think one of the difference was my mother. My mother, she was one of them that I think I was more afraid of her than the police.
So she didn't play that.
Oh my God, she didn't play. So and my cousins always had us involved in something. Anytime we was with them, there was some trouble somewhere. And you know, I know the one time that I was taken home in a police car, I was with my cousins and we were in this school and they were remodeling the school and we basically in there vandalizing the school. Basically, we riding on the equipment and doing all this, and the police came and everyone jumped and it was running, and I was faster than most of my cousins and my brother and all them, and when he said stop, said freeze right there, I stopped, and they kept running, but I was the one that they all hate. I was like, man, y'all stop, man, don't run, you know, come on back. And they was like, man, what are you doing? You should have ran. And my cousin, I can remember my cousin sitting there and said, man, he wasn't going to shoot us. I said, man, look, man said freeze, said stop. And we're riding in the police car, and my cousin was next to me. He was just laughing and joking and not taking it serious. And I'm sitting in the car because I'm about to have a panic attack because it's not about the policeman. Because he was taking us to my mother's house, and my mother was having a yard sale at the time.
Oh, God.
So we pulled up in the police car, and I can remember the police officer said, he said, son, he talking to my cousin. He said, I'm going to see you again because you don't, he said, you're not going to change. And my cousin was just laughing. And so we get out of the car, and I'm scared to death. And the police officer tell my mother what we're doing, and she said, get in the house. And I'm about 11, 12 years old, and I just knew I was going to get it. And my cousin was still laughing and all that, but he was kind of afraid of my mother too. And so he left. She sent him home. And it embarrassed my mother so much because there were people there. Oh, we got a pretty good whooping, my brother and myself. But I could remember after that, I was like, I don't want that experience anymore because I don't want to disappoint my mother. I could just see the look on her face and that she was just so disappointed because she was dreaming for so much more for us. And I've had uncles and cousins all through the correctional facility, the system. And here I was, 11, 12 years old, and it looked like I'm headed on the same route doing that. And I just had to cut my cousins loose. And I got involved more in sports, and they stayed in so much trouble that they could never, they were probably better athletes, but they never had the opportunity because I don't think they saw themselves outside of the environment in which we live. Because there's so many people not go to finish high school, not go to college, but go to youth detention. It was like, I can remember it was like a kind of a rites of passage to go to training school. Here, youth detention center. I was like, I'm not going in there. I hear the stories y'all saying, but y'all okay with going. I don't understand that. And I think that was one of the reasons why I decided, I said, I'm going to try to focus and stay on the path of trying to do something with my life. And my brothers and I, we were just really focused. And I think a lot of it was the fear of what my mom would do. But I think the large part of that was just the disappointment. We didn't want to disappoint her because she had worked so hard to get, kind of remind me of you and how you were doing for your kids. My mother did everything, just trying to make sure we were taken care of, sacrificed so much to make sure that we were taken care of, that I was just like, I got to get into a position where I can give back to her, you know, and make life easier for her. And, you know, and did I have some other ups and downs throughout that time? Yeah, I did make some stupid mistakes and decisions, but I tried to learn from them all. And I think a lot of times young people that grow up in that environment, they think those type of mistakes are common mistakes that everyone should are making them. And the road that it takes you down, they feel like that's what they're going to do. And, you know, when you look at the statistics and you say, if you're born after the year 2000 and you're African-American male, 1 in 3 are going to go to prison at some time in their life. That's frightening. But when I look at my family, I was like, dang, that was true before 2000. You know, I look at how many, my uncle called me last week. And he called me, and he always called me and asked me to put some money on his books. He always said, man, can you put some money on books? He's in prison. And he called me the other day. He said, I can jump as high as I want, and I can run as far as I want to run. I just got released, you know. And I was like, man, congratulations. And I was like, man, stay out. And he was like, I'm gonna stay out, you know. But that's like it was like common for my family. And I don't want kids to think that is normal, you know, that you should go, that it is a normal path for you to go to prison. It's not normal. You can be whatever you want to be. Now, will it be difficult for some things that you want to do? Yes. It'll be easier for some things that you want to do. But if that's what you want to do, you ought to be able to give up that sleep. You know,
yeah. I lost a lot.
Lost a lot, right?
Yes.
Missed those meals or whatever it may be in order to get that. And I just feel like, you know, when you talk about the book, and I got an opportunity to meet Wes Moores at a conference, a Boys and Girls Club conference. And very inspirational guy. And the thing that intrigued me most is that he looked and he said, man, I could have been that guy. You know, same name, same community, different paths. And when you read the book, you understand that, you know, a lot of his was when they sent him to the military school, you know, was his kind of saving grace. But I think it was sports for me because it kept me busy. I was playing 3 sports in high school and 2 in college. Stayed busy. And, you know, and they kept me, you know, that's why I say with kids, when they get out of school, they need to go to somewhere and not be at home by themselves. Because you leave the door open for so many things that they can do. And if you can be in a 2-parent home and you have decent incomes, they're going to make some stupid mistakes. You know, but are you helping them to learn from it? Keeping them from going down that path where they're going to end up in prison or on drugs or in a gang. You know, all those opportunities was presented to me, and I decided I ain't want any parts of that. You know, and I hate to take up all the time on that.
Oh, you're doing quite well.
Can I just piggyback off what he said? I'm sorry. I just want, like, for people to know that you don't have to be a product of your environment.
That's right.
You know, tell your children that you can be anything you want to be. Just like you said, you just have to work for it. It's not going to come easy. You're going to have roller coaster rides. You're going to have bumps in the road. But just because you see all of these things in front of you, know that there's this whole big room outside of this microphone. Like, it's so much more to the world and to explore and to knowledge. And I tell my children all the time, your knowledge is your power. You just have to gain it. And that's one of the biggest reasons why I did not give up. I couldn't give up. I couldn't tell my children that, but then give up, because what am I embedding in them? Nothing. Yeah. And that's all I wanted. I just wanted to piggyback off what you said.
Yeah.
And I'd just like to say that there are resources out in the community. And as you call around and you find that there are resources that are not available to you, keep calling and ask if there are other agencies that you should be contacting. There are resources that are available. There are people that are available, but you won't know that unless you keep at it.
All right, we have one additional question.
Dr. Falcon, your life's work, it seems, revolves around helping the community
Yes.
and economic development. Could you share with us the path that you took to get there?
Well, I started my career as a journalist, writing for newspapers in the Hampton Roads area. I even worked for an ABC affiliate in Norfolk, Virginia. And as I was working on stories about people living in communities, diverse communities, people that had different activities and programs in place, I started thinking that I wanted my beat to be City Hall. And so that's when I enrolled in Old Dominion for their master's program in public administration and urban services. And as part of that, I learned a lot about different needs in the community, needs that I hadn't necessarily been acquainted with growing up, but the fact that public service agencies are created for a reason. And from public service, I learned that you've got to be responsive, you've got to be focused, and you've got to have lots of opportunities for outreach. I left the television station to go work in public information for 2 school systems. After that, I was invited into city manager's office, Bureau of Research and Strategic Analysis for the city of Norfolk, and from that, I ended up leading a federal empowerment zone that served 2 cities in Hampton Roads. And from there, I've been working in economic development, community development, working with human service partners for years now. And it's a very rewarding experience because a lot of times I encounter people that do not have hope. And once you are able to communicate with them, let them know what's available and help them access what's available, you'd be amazed at how the outcomes change. For several years, I worked with a youth council for the city of Norfolk, where our council members were able to select students from their different wards of the city. That was interesting in itself because we had young people coming from all over the city who were perhaps working on community issues with people that didn't look like them or hadn't come from similar circumstances. So I am a big advocate for communication, collaboration, and building bridges across differences. And here in Rocky Mount, we have those same opportunities. We do need to do more in terms of building stronger networks, breaking through silos, and just coming together on common issues. Thank you.
As we wrap up here, I want to end our panel today by maybe going one by one and just one final piece of advice or exciting opportunity that your organization is providing right now that the community would want to know about. We'll start with you, Allison.
Well, with going into, excuse me, the mental health field, our mental health system in our community and across America is really broken. I mean, it's just, there's no resources. I know someone personally who, there was a program here in Rocky Mount, it was an outpatient program, and that person suffered from a lot of mental health disorders, and that program brought so much light into that person's life. They were, you know, just a much better person, and when that program ended, their life just kind of deteriorated, and they stay in the house now. And I hate to see that, and I have a lot of goals set in mind with working in the mental health field. And, you know, if you see someone who looks like they're having a bad day, sometimes just simply saying to them something positive that you see about them, or asking them, how are you doing today? Just something as simple as that can make a difference in a person's life, or just taking 2 or 3 minutes and just allowing them to talk to you and you talk to them, just so that they know that someone cares, can make a big difference. So if I can leave that piece with everyone listening and everyone in this room, take that time to do that. What is 2 or 3 minutes? You'll make 2 or 3 minute phone call just to order some pizza. So take that time.
Yeah. So we all know that when you look for a better future for your community, you have to develop the future of your community. That's our young people. And we just got to have a more concerted effort in developing our young people. And it's not, going back to what I said, not just a rite of passage as far as them growing and developing. Times are changing. We should change as well in our methods of how to grow our young people. And if it's one thing I can leave with people, it's kind of my motivation, and it's a poem by Barton Braley. It goes like this: says, "There's a thing that you want. You got to go out and fight for it. You work day and night for it. You give up your time, your peace, and your sleep for it. If all that you dream and scheme is about it, and life seems useless and worthless without it, if you fret for it, plan for it, lose all your terror of the opposition for it. If you simply go after that thing that you want with all your capacity, strength and sagacity, hope, confidence, and stern pertinacity, if neither cold poverty, sickness, and pain of the body or brain can keep you away from that thing that you want, if dogged and grim you beseech and beset it, with the help of God, you will get it." And that's something that I live by every day. And I feel like that is kind of, I mean, sometimes you got to do some things that make you uncomfortable to make sure that you not only make your life better, but your family and others around you better.
And I'd like to say that if you aren't already doing so, please volunteer in the communities. Whether it's through your churches, nonprofit agencies, city government, volunteer so that you can get to know the needs of your community. Volunteer so that you can get to know how you can best serve those in your community. And always be willing to step out of the ordinary to help out in the community.
I would like to thank you so much for being here with us today. This has been inspiring to just learn about your stories, but all that you're doing in this great area that we live in. And so take a moment and offer our appreciation to our panelists, and thank you for joining us.